Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Get Healthy with Dr. Cooper, where the aim is to bring you evidence-based information on various diseases and how you can live a healthy life by changing your lifestyle. I want to welcome all of our viewers from around the world. We know we have viewers from many different countries. Welcome. Go ahead and share the page, like the page, and make comments. Remember, we're here to serve you. You know, recently I was giving a lecture, a health lecture in a church, and I asked, what topic would you like me to speak on the next time I return? And I was told depression, anxiety. I mean, it is amazing how many people are suffering from unhealthy mind. And that's the reason why our topic today is the power of a healthy mind and unleashing your potential. You know, I have a very special guest who will be on in a couple of minutes. And together we're going to try to discuss the importance of changing your mind. You know, it is believed that over 350 million people worldwide suffer from depression. Depression is a leading disability in the world. And then when we add anxiety to that, it's amazing how many people have unhealthy mind. And as you know, our thoughts dictate how we feel, or our thoughts dictate our health, whether emotional health, physical health, or social health. So if we don't have healthy mind, then that's a problem. On our screen, you can see that we are multifaceted. We have a physical part, an emotional part, mental, social, and spiritual. All of these dimensions must work together in order for us to maintain good health. And let me just simply talk a little bit about each, and we're going to keep that picture on the screen. So physical. If the mind is not connected, if you have a healthy mind, we're going to have physical display of diseases. For example, you know, many times the patient might walk in the office with chest pain or palpitation just because the patient is anxious. So the mind dictates how we are physically. If we're thinking negatively, then the brain will produce negative hormones that will cause the heart to race, the blood sugar to be high, blood pressure to be high. And of course, if the mind is not in balance, then the patient will be emotionally unwell, mentally unwell. If the social environment is not healthy, then that will create imbalance. You know, a couple weeks ago, I had a doctor in my show, Dr. Bryce. And Dr. Bryce gave his story of how he was given away as a child and how that affected him. But he developed a healthy mind and became a very successful physician. So therefore, it is very important. He also discussed relationship, healthy relationship as importance towards your health. And of course, we all know that the spiritual connection is very important. You know, studies have shown that those people who have a faith community, those people who meditate, who have strong spiritual well-being tend to be healthier. So in our show today, we're going to be discussing all of these dimensions and how to develop a healthy mind and therefore unleash our potential. Because we all know that if we're not emotionally well, then it will inhibit our function and therefore we will become disabled. So at this time, I'm going to put on a video. This gentleman is so powerful, and you might see your story in his story, And this will empower you to develop healthy mind. You will see how a healthy mind, developing a healthy mind, will help you to unleash your potential. Let's go to this video.
I got beat up every single day, and I was 10 years of age. We didn't have much money, so my mother used to dress me funny. She made these purple crushed velvet velour suits and a big bow tie, and sent me to school in Compton, California, dressed like that. But it caused me to understand that there's a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is economic, but being poor is a disabling frame of mind and a depressed condition of your spirit, and you must vow never, ever, ever to be poor again. I was in India, and I had gone to this university, and I spoke there, and after I left, I got back to the hotel, and I realized I didn't have my wallet. And so I called the hotel and I said, can you please bring the car back? They have my wallet. And they said, I'm sorry, sir, we don't have a car. That was a taxi. I became a little cynical. I went from hopeful to skeptical to cynical, and I started thinking the worst of people. And of course, they said, well, my wallet is gone. By midnight, they called and said, we're still trying. He's not answering the phone, the taxi cab driver. But at 2 in the morning, they called and said he answered his phone. His phone was off. He's coming back to your hotel with your wallet. So I get dressed and I run downstairs, and a man meets me, and the bellman translates for me in India in the dialect, and I reach into my wallet and there's $70 US. So I reach out and I say, let me give this $70 to you. This is my way of saying thank you. And the man says, no. I said, no, I don't think you understand. I'm talking about paying you. I'm talking about giving you a month's worth of your salary. One more time, he said, and this time he became a little visibly angry. He said, I told you no. I didn't bring you your wallet because I wanted a reward. I brought you your wallet because it's your wallet. So I said to the man, what can I do to be thankful to you? What can I do to say thank you? He said, the next time you're in India, come to my house and have tea. Be my friend. You gain more by giving. You get more by building. You learn more by listening. Eagles don't fly in packs. There are 3 types of birds. There are eagles, there are buzzards, and there are turkeys. Eagles are high altitude birds. They're regal. They're not arrogant, they're not pompous, but there's a certain regalness to an eagle. Then you've got another kind of bird. It's the buzzard. Buzzards are always stepping on your head to elevate themselves. But the worst kind of bird is a turkey, because the turkey's got wings and can't even fly. All they do is profile, translation, trying to be something they are not. And I'm now going to come right to you. What kind of bird do you want to be?
Welcome back. So we're discussing the power of a healthy mind and how you can unleash your potential developing a healthy mind. My name is Dr. Cooper-Dockery. I'm a board-certified internal medicine doctor that currently practices in South Texas. However, I enjoy educating on healthy lifestyle and how you can use lifestyle modification to change your healthcare destiny. Today I have with me Dr. R.L. Chance. Dr. Chance wears many hats. He's a pastor, he is a motivational speaker, he's a best-selling author, he is a life coach, and he's a implementalist. What do you call that?
Implementation strategist.
There you go. Now
Help
these
people take
titles.
action.
There you go. So I want to welcome you to Get Healthy, Dr.
Thank
Cooper.
you.
I know a couple of weeks ago you called me and you said we need to talk about mind-body connection.
Yes.
Because there's so many people out there with some form of mind problem, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's brokenness. Now, can you tell me, in your experience, what have you seen, whether in your communities, in your churches?
Yeah, well, and I'm glad that you actually took it on the show today, because it's very, very important. It's almost like a taboo, and because I'm mainly from the faith-based community, it's something that we don't really talk about.
Right.
Because no one wants to say they are going through mental and emotional challenges. Furthermore, the word you mentioned a while ago, depression,
Right.
which we know is one of the leading cause of most disabilities today, according to many studies.
Right.
And so from that perspective of even counseling with people, you realize that it's more than simply a spiritual, so-called spiritual thing, that they need help in other areas. But our community, unfortunately, do not have a lot of help or support locally in that regards. And lastly, Dr. Cooper, one of the challenges too is because this is important to me, because I'm realizing that many professionals are also dealing with mental issues, but it is more difficult for us than the general public
Right.
to deal with mental issues.
Right, right. I think we all have brokenness. We have some, in the past, mental illness was tabooed. But nowadays, it is very easy for someone to come in and say, I'm depressed or I'm anxious. So the taboo is gone. But there's so many of us, as we mentioned, over 350 million people worldwide have depression. And in the United States, about 15 million have anxiety. Now, if you're listening to us, you might be wondering, how do I know if I'm depressed or if I'm anxious? There's so many symptoms. So as a physician, I'm going to go through a few symptoms, and then I'm going to get back to Dr. Chance. So extreme anxiety. This could be indicating that you are depressed. Restlessness, inability to sleep. If you have anger management problem, loss of interest in your favorite activity, or if you're fixated on the past. Now, a couple weeks ago, we discussed adverse childhood experiences as one of the leading causes of chronic illnesses. Adverse childhood experiences can cause depression. Now, Dr. Chance, tell me, why is it that you wanted us to focus on this topic?
Okay. Well, for several reasons. One, from a personal perspective, to be able to help my community more. That's the most important. And also my colleagues. I hang around quite a bit of professional individuals. And the reality is, I'm going to share some statistics in a moment. I see that they are battling with the same thing, but it's difficult, Dr. Cooper, for professionals to be able to say it publicly,
yes,
like the regular folks. Because not only that, but your job is on the line in
yes,
some cases. Even when they say, oh, we have private lines, no one calls those lines, because the moment you mention your name, it's like, oh, well, so-and-so, they might be having problems.
Right.
And so therefore, they believe that their jobs might be at risk. So we want to be able to help those individuals today as well to find some kind of way, because our success in life, in every area of our life, depends upon a sound mind.
That's right. This doctor from Tennessee, he spoke about reshaping the mind. The change begins in the mind. You have to move out by thinking differently. And as you rightly mentioned, a lot of professionals, they're going through tremendous brokenness, depression, and anxiety. But as you mentioned, they are so hesitant to say anything because their job will be on the line. And statistics have shown that, 44,000 people die per year in the United States as a result of suicide. Why are they suicidal? Because of depression and the hesitancy in trying to get some help. So that is a problem.
Wow, that's an alarm, actually.
Yes.
That's alarming. Recently, I'm also doing some studies on this very thing, trying to work on a paper of understanding why people behave a certain way based on what they believe. Again, because again, it's faith-based community. Sometimes people are hesitant to get certain help because of their theological conundrums. And so that really is unfortunate in many cases. So let's look at a few statistics. And you mentioned one.
Yes.
I want to share from the Nature magazine, a very reputable magazine, and it's talking about, there was an article posted in 2014. I got some more current stats, but it said here that the burden of depression, mental health, is gaining acceptance as a medical problem. Again, because most people don't see it as such sometimes. But progress is in finding treatment is being hampered by the stigma that is still surrounding the people's lives today. So I'm glad that you are a forerunner again in this kind of things, because people need to realize that it is, according to this, one of the leading causes of all disabilities today. The same magazine also, now this is where we want to talk a little bit about the professional community. Many people are highly educated, right? But here is one. Mental health, degree, and depression. It says a study of PhD students in Belgium adds to a body of research that highlights the harsh reality. PhD students are more likely to experience mental health distress than any other highly educated individuals.
Why do you think this is so?
Oh.
You're a PhD. You just finished your PhD.
Much stress. You know, trying to keep up with the Joneses. Everybody goes through those different things. It's not just the average Joe or Jane. Everyone goes through that. But it is sometimes demanding. Not only that, but you are trying to meet even the demands of the university or the professor. Sometimes you might be researching one thing and you find your research is proving something else than what the professor teaches or the university espoused. And so that's difficult. I know one person who had to start all over, because what they discovered in their research was not what the university kind of, you know, project or teach. So therefore, they couldn't graduate. So he's like, you got to do something else. And I'm like, that to me is bordering on being illegal, right? So we have that. But then also, let's deal in your profession as well. I was looking at some data a few weeks ago concerning this as well. The American Medical Association says a study finds a high rate of depression among resident physicians. An analysis that included more than 17,000 physicians in training find that nearly 1/3 of those who are screened, they screen positive for depression or depressive symptoms during residency, according to a study in the December 8th issue of JAMA. Now that's a big thing.
It's a big thing. I think it's overwork and lack of balance.
Yes.
In everything we do, we have to find a balance. And one has to disconnect. That is why, you know, when I go home in the evening, I have to disconnect from what I was doing during the daytime. If you don't disconnect and reconnect with something else, then you're going to be stressed. Stress is going to lead to many other diseases, and that is going to be a problem.
Right.
So that is why doctors or the PhD students or the residents are depressed, because they're overworked, they're stressed, and they don't necessarily find a balance.
And the thing is too, the regular folks like ourselves, sometimes we see the physicians and the professors as people who are Superman and Superwoman, right? You don't get depressed. We come to you when we're depressed. And so sometimes we don't realize everybody goes through different things. The most alarming, though, Dr. Cooper, of them all was this one by Dr. Pamela Weber. She has a wonderful video on TEDx, a TEDx talk that's, you know, viral right now, but it's entitled, and she was also featured just this year in the Chicago Tribune. Dr. Pamela Weber, you guys can check her out. It says, why so many doctors kill themselves. It says many of them cite, just like you're saying, their suicide notes. They include bullying, sleep deprivation, pressure to even perform.
Yes.
In the video, she was also sharing the fact that some people have to even go to different states under a different name so they can be treated for their depression, because of course you don't want to go and say, well, I am Dr. So-and-so. And so those are pressures, those are societal pressures. And so the people who also may need help are also struggling because of the stigma associated. No one wants to say, even pastors go through a lot of discouraging episodes as well. But how can you know, people looking at you like you're all the way on the mountaintop, always, right? And so they don't realize that it doesn't matter who you are. that we all can go through episodes
of depression.
and it doesn't necessarily mean, as you will share with us, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't be successful, because even biblically, I don't understand why people who are in the faith-based community also look down on folks who are going through depression.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there are people like Elijah. Most of the Psalms, by the way, everybody from all walks of life read the Psalms, right? But most of the Psalms are David's chant that has to do with his bouts with depression.
Right.
He's in a discouraged state, so he's singing to himself, which is one of the ways to actually get your mind together and get positive and so forth. We can sing to ourselves. Elijah, one of the greatest prophets that were mentioned in the Hebrew scriptures, he was a depressed man, right?
Yes, yes.
And so we find this all through. John the Baptist had issues with that. And so people go through all these discouraging situations, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are less efficient. It's just that, just like anything else, let's find a way to deal with it.
That's right. As you mentioned, everybody has their time. The Bible said there's a time for everything. We just need to find a way out. We need to find a way out, because depression can be from various etiology. Hormonal imbalance can be a cause of depression. Genetics can increase your risk for becoming depressed. But how do we deal with the depression? We first need to recognize that something is wrong and you must seek help. Because if you don't seek help, then the depression will cause physical disability. You will now develop hypertension, because when you're depressed, the body, when you're in a state of stress, will increase the cortisol level, and that will increase your blood pressure, increase your blood sugar, lead to cardiovascular disease and death. Depression can also lead to chronic pain, because there can be inflammation in the muscles and in the joints. I'm sure you probably heard of a disease that is called fibromyalgia. Yeah. Fibromyalgia is a disease where the patient has pain all over. You cannot even touch the patient. And the reason for this is just the chronic depression and inflammation into these areas. So if you're listening to us and you think you're depressed, or if you think you're anxious, then you need to find help. And as Dr. Chance mentioned, that all over in the Bible, we had great men who had bouts of depression. But how do we treat the depression? What are the treatments for depression? And when we say treatment, it doesn't necessarily mean medical drug therapy. There are various ways to address this issue. All right.
Yeah, and acknowledging where we are, because I think the more we can speak on it on this level, where people don't feel like they're second-class citizens because they might be going through bouts of depression or discouragement or any mental issue or challenge. Right. We must realize that, like you said, there are diseases that afflict everyone in different situations. Even when you do your best sometimes, unfortunately, we all go through issues. But I think, first of all, is for the whole entire community to realize that this is a problem, and it doesn't make someone less because they are going through it. And I think it should call forth more compassion.
Right.
More than anything from us as a community. We should be gentle with everyone, do no harm. I think that's part of what you guys say, right?
Exactly.
So that is part of it. I think knowing where you are, because really, and one other class we left out as well in this professional business people. We have also found that entrepreneurs, because of your high drive and your leadership, that you have these big goals and big visions, and when they don't seem to materialize in a time frame you want to, you can be very, very, very discouraged. So you find a lot of successful people, actually, they go through a lot of episodes of depression and discouragement. But the good thing is, one of the keys of bouncing back is that what they have is this pull, this bigger vision, that even when they have their seasons down under the rocks, they can bounce back easy, because they always are driving towards that thing. They wake up with purpose. And so that's one of the keys, is align yourself with one of the things that is meaningful, significant in your life, and that can help to pull you forward, at least into finding solutions.
Right. As you said, a lot of businessmen, I have a lot of businessmen that will come into the office very stressed. and they're stressed because they're managing the business. They're managing a lot of people. They have to think about everyone that's under them.
Yes.
How do they support them?
Yes.
So these are reasons for the depression. But as you say, these people are driven. They are driven, the fact that they're driven towards helping others, they're driven towards a positive goal, they tend to surmount these periods of depression.
Yes, and so that's what we find where motivation, encouragement, different things. We talk about different things as we go forward. But even yesterday, I was teaching at church about this very thing of encouraging yourself, right? We talk about, again, another mighty man that people talk about, King David, right? There was a story where, you know, him and his men, they came back from a battle, and their wives, their children were gone. The city was burned, and it said the men wept. We can say they were discouraged, they were depressed.
Right.
It said they wept till they could not weep anymore.
My.
And so much so, they even wanted to stone David. So it's like having the worst end of the stick. But we find that there it says David encouraged himself.
Right.
Right? And after he encouraged himself, he took another step, which is action. So sometimes we do have to weep. We have to go through those episodes, right? The good King Solomon says, you know, actually, he says more laughter and mourning, these kind of things. We have to figure out that there's a balance. He says, actually, sometimes it is better to weep. It is better to mourn because the heart is made better. Right. We can now sympathize better with others. And now when I see somebody else going through their bouts, I can say, okay, I know where you are, and I can be able to help you out.
That's good. Sometimes it's good to identify.
Identify
because
with them.
some people, the stigma that goes with mental health, people tend not to open up. But if they know that you also were broken at some point in your journey, then they'll open up, and then you can connect and help that person.
Voila.
So remember that if you're listening to us and you're broken, find someone. Don't sit there, because the chronic brokenness could lead to more complication. You know, for example, I can give you my story. You know, I was born to a 16-year-old mother. Of course, 16-year-old, how can she take care of a child? So then I grew up with my grandmother. But my grandma was so positive that at some point in my life, I said I wanted to be a nurse. And she said, oh, no, I want you to be a doctor. And every time she would come and tell me, oh, Donna, I met a female doctor that reminded me so much about you. That positive reinforcement was so effective in my life that I became a physician, a successful physician, because I was personally driven to surmount any negative history and to reach my goal. So if you're listening to us and you're broken, you're negative because of some experience in the past, remember that the change should begin in your mind. And if you develop a healthy mindset, then you can unleash the potential and the greatness that you have within you. So don't be ashamed and don't be hesitant to ask for help. I'm going to take the time to welcome some people, if I can find them, who have joined us on Facebook. I know I saw Agnes Day. Welcome, Agnes. And welcome to all of her friends. I have Sydney, Claudette Duncan, Adrian Acevedo, Clarissa. I saw Anne, James, welcome. Please like and share our page. Mary Regolado, thank you for joining us. Curtis Brooks, you're always there. Thank you. Cindy, thank you. Anita Castillo, Marvin. Guys, like and share and make comment. I see my cousin here from England, Leroy Hogg. Thank you for joining. Like and share our page. We're discussing how to develop a healthy mind and therefore unleash your potential. You know, the wise man Solomon said that a merry heart is good as medicine, but a broken spirit dries the bone. We don't want you to be broken, because brokenness will cause disability. It will inhibit your greatness that is within you. So you must find the greatness, change your mind, change your thought process, and move towards being very positive. Dr. Chance?
I saw Agnes also made a post there that says sometimes some folks just need to take a vacation. And you're right, Agnes, that is so true. In March, actually, we went on a whole 1 week cruise, and it was refreshing. Not only that, we got way far away, right? We were on the sea, but we came back, Agnes, so refreshed. And as a leader, for me, that's important because, like we said, one of the challenges of people who lead organizations is you feel like everything, John Maxwell actually says, you know, everything falls and rises on leadership. So you always feel, you know, if the thing is not going good, you take it on yourself, even though, you know, there's so many other factors, but that's just what leaders do. And so sometimes it can become overwhelming for the leader. So the leader, if you're a professional, especially out there, you need to take those time of refreshing, right? Even the master teacher did that with his followers. He said, come aside and rest a while. Let us retreat to a private place so we can rejuvenate and we can get reinvigorated, because sometimes we need pouring into as well. You're always giving every single week to your patients. You're doing that. Sometimes you just need to get away. On the way here, driving to the studio, I was listening to some classical music.
That's right.
I'm like, I need to set my mind right. I'm listening to some classical music coming.
You know, I'm happy you mentioned that because, you know, for the last many years, I have been doing voice training. I'd go to voice lesson once a week.
Wow.
And that would be so therapeutic. But over the last 2-3 years, my voice teacher left and I'm not singing anymore. And I'm not that happy, so I'm looking for another voice teacher because music is therapeutic.
It is very therapeutic, and I mean that's what we find with the psalm. That's why the psalm, you know, they attract so many different people from different walks of life, because he says, you know, you got to sing, make melodies in your heart. You know what I mean? Make a joyful noise, rejoice evermore. So these are things where you're right, singing and music. That has to do with setting your environment. You mentioned that as one of the keys in your books, Get Healthy for Life, where environment is crucial. So sometimes you have to surround your environment with positive, inspiring things. It could be visual. You know, put up some posters, get rid of some of those pictures that doesn't mean anything. Put up something that inspires you, and also listen to music in your car. Sometimes you may have to, I find what helps me to Dr. Cooper is this. I don't listen to too much of the news, right? Actually, I get most of my news on Facebook. I see what others are saying, and that's how I kind of figure out. But the reality is sometimes news itself can be depressing.
Exactly.
Because when you hear all the negativity, because most news is not positive, they always put you in a fearful, like you wonder what's going to happen next, and so many different things, and so you know, you got to tune out,
right?
And then you have to bring the wonderful things in. So while you're driving, listen to something that is uplifting, inspirational. Like we said, music is one of the good things that picks people up. I normally see people on the weekends, especially when they're driving. I mean, you can see some people there, they're bobbing their head and they're doing different things, and they're getting their praise on.
There you go. Exercise. Let's talk a little bit about how to develop that healthy mind. Exercise, regular physical exercise, increase the endorphin levels. Endorphins are the happy hormones. So if you're depressed and if you're stressed, then if you were to exercise, you're going to realize that your depression will be less, your stress will be less, because you are producing positive hormones. Also, sunlight. You know, in the areas in which we don't have much sun, people tend to develop depression, a special type of depression. And how do you treat that depression? Exposure to the sun. Sunlight increases serotonin level. Serotonin is the neurotransmitter that gives you the feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of well-being. As a matter of fact, one of the ways we treat depression with medication is to give drugs that will increase the serotonin level. So therefore, naturally, with natural sunlight, we can increase serotonin level. Also, the food we eat, there's so many food that will increase the tryptophan level. Tryptophan is a amino acid that is important in the production of serotonin. Remember the word serotonin. You want to have a high serotonin level. So what then should you eat? I'm going to go back now to healthy diet. Green leafy vegetables, fruits, seeds, walnuts, chia, flax seeds, all of these seeds And vegetables, as well as whole grains like wheat, will increase tryptophan level, and then tryptophan will increase serotonin level. So you want to be in a state in which you have high serotonin levels in order to maintain balance, in order to have a healthier mindset, and in order to prevent depression. Now, in your field, Dr. Chance, what about healthy relationship? We know that healthy relationship or family bonding will decrease depression. Studies have shown then that those patients who have visitation from the family or have love and empathy at home,
yes,
tend to live 7 to 10 years longer.
yes.
Do you have anything on that?
Yes, and it is so true in many levels. So you have two relationships happening here, because sometimes when a person is discouraged or depressed, they want to pull away.
That's right.
And the reality is that's when you really need the support. That's when you really need the family. And so many times when you're depressed, it's like you just want to go crawl up under a rock somewhere. But that social environment, that bonding.
Right.
A few years ago when we were in Huntsville, Alabama, I remember, because Zig Ziglar always used to talk about hugging. And some of our students did a study on the fact that hugging actually helps people, raise their your blood and so forth. I mean, their pressure to a good level, where it's like they feel good. It's a happy feeling.
Right.
And so, yeah, being around funny people as well, that's good. We all have somebody in our family or friend or something like that who's very funny.
Right.
And so helping you to laugh, laughter is good medicine, right?
That's right.
So, yes, family relationships are very, very good. And inversely, too, when they are bad, then what happens is they cause these negative things as well, affecting our health. So you want to, if your relationship with your family is not good, try to fix it. Try to make it better, as great as you can. But, because sometimes we just can't forget about our family or dismiss them.
No.
But friends, though, you can. So I want to warn you that if there are friends who are contributing to you being discouraged all the time, they're mostly negative, you might want to at least distance yourself. And disconnect completely from those people, because environment matters again. And if people are coming in your environment always causing you stress and so forth, you might want to limit yourself to those folks.
Right, because we are multidimensional, as we said. You're physical, you're emotional, you have the social aspect, and you have the spiritual aspect, and that gives you the holistic health that you're seeking. So the emotional and social aspect, that's very important. That's the family bonding. Now, what about the spiritual? Studies have shown that those patients who have a faith community, those patients that meditate, those patients that go to church once or twice a week, tend to show much decreased incidence of depression and anxiety. Even though we can see these diseases at church, but the incidence is less.
Yeah.
What has been your experience in this?
Oh, absolutely. It is a big advantage. Again, I go back to Solomon. I love to read Solomon. He says a living dog is better than a dead lion. What does he mean by that? Because again, to everything that's alive, there is hope. And so when you have hope, and that's most people of faith, they have that hope regardless of what. And also, that's the formula for transformation, right? It is said, what? Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So sometimes we try to change the behavior. Now, we have to do those things too, but the first part of where you want to start is in here. If we transform the inside, the outer behavior will take care of themselves. But many times we work on the behavior modification. Now, that's like putting out fire. That's how I see it. So you put out this one fire, you put out that one fire, you put out this, and you always working all around. But when you get at the mind, you're getting to the root of the issue.
Exactly.
Right? So again, from where comes these kind of behaviors that we don't like? It says from the heart, from within. Out of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Right.
And so that's what we want to work from the inside out. Transform your mind. How do we do it, Dr. Cooper? What are some things? You just mentioned, again, health, loving relationships, all of these things. But reading, put good content in as well. Fix the mind by reading and watching certain things that will encourage, inspire, uplift, motivate you. And when you have these things on there, generally you'll see less and less depression. It doesn't mean you might not get discouraged at a moment, but even if you do, you can probably bounce back much faster.
Absolutely. Now, studies have shown that meditation meditation and prayer can reshape your frontal lobe.
Wow.
You know, it is shown that people who meditate and pray tend to have more cells in the frontal lobe. What do we do in our frontal lobe? That's the area for thought or personality. So if you want to reshape your mind, you shape your brain, then you have to connect. You have to connect spiritually. There's no other way around it. You have to connect spiritually, and then you'll see a difference. I'll give you a story. I had a patient who came to my office, patient with diabetes and hypertension. He was overweight, he had joint pain, and we just couldn't fix his problem. And then a couple of weeks later, this gentleman showed up to the office and he said, "Dr. Cooper, guess what? My blood sugars are dropping. They're better." I said, "What did you do differently?" He said, "You know, I started reading my Bible and meditating." You see the difference? So we must change your brain, but you cannot do it on your own. That spiritual component needs to be there. So think, you know, in my book, 14 Days to Amazing Health, I laid out 14 days plan to become healthier. And you might wonder, can you change in 14 days? Of course you can change. And in that book, I outlined on a daily basis how to meditate, what to think on, how to connect to your family, how to say, "I thank you," how to be grateful, how to forgive, because all of these factors are important to create a healthier mind.
That's right.
Remember, the mind drives you physically, emotionally, and otherwise. If the mind is unhealthy, then you can be trapped. You can be trapped and you can be experiencing so many physical signs and symptoms. So a healthy mind is important.
Wonderful. I totally support it. It's so amazing how you mention these things. They're so there, so sometimes we just overlook them. I'm actually counseling a couple right now. They're going to be married actually next month. And so we do premarital counseling every Sunday. And one of the topics we talked about was actually, yes, forgiveness.
Yes.
And how that can, you know, if we don't take care of it, it can actually eat away at you inside. And then so spouses sometimes have these bitter thoughts against each other. And where does that get? That's mental challenges.
Right.
One of the things, though, Dr. Cooper, perhaps you can help us on this, though. What I've found, too, is a phenomena which, you know, something that is difficult for people to handle is cognitive dissonance or cognitive distortions, where they have these kind of mental, two different pictures in their minds, you know what I mean? And it doesn't reconcile with reality. And this is where, for me, what that I'm studying right now is, again, especially people of faith, you believe one thing, but your experience is giving you another thing. And so the mind cannot hold these two inconsistent things. And so some people have to throw out one in order to have peace. Can you tell people a little bit about how do they deal with these? It's pretty much the thoughts that they tell themselves, the language they use. Sometimes we use these, "I'm no good, I'm always a failure,
Exactly.
you know, I never achieve anything." And it might just be one time you failed, and then we say, "Oh, I'm a total failure, I'm not going to try." And so those kind of begin to condition the mind a certain way. How can people deal with that stuff?
There's something called psychosomatic. You have a negative thought and you start expressing this negative thought physically. Remember, we say that the change should begin in the mind, and therefore you have to realize that you should not be negative. Being negative, whether you're thinking negative about yourself or if you're thinking negative about someone else, this can destroy you emotionally and physically. So someone said, I think it was Les Brown, said, you should never allow the negative opinion of someone to become your reality.
Come on now.
Okay? You must be positive. You must tell yourself that I can, I am not, I can do this. You know, I have many, some patients who may come into my office and they'll speak negatively about their children, labeling the child. This one is bipolar, or this one has ADHD. And now this child sitting and listening to this parent start acting out the symptoms, thinking that they indeed have these problems when they don't have the problems. So you have to be positive. positive reinforcement is so important to obtaining a healthy mind and to unleash the potential within that person.
That's right. And it is spiritually a principle as well, right? Again, in Isaiah, we read, you know, if you're weak, say that you're strong. Even though you might feel weak, but you got to say you're strong. You know, when let the poor say that I am rich, you know, so by speaking to yourself, now I have a little saying though, when you speak to yourself, just don't respond. Because we might have another issue going on there. But it's okay to encourage yourself if nobody else would, and speaking to yourself, because the best person to talk to you is really you. Because again, because we're faced with so much negativity on a daily, consistent basis, the last thing you want to do is add to it by also speaking negative to yourself. And failure is never final.
Right.
Failure is actually a part of growing.
Right.
And failure is a part of the process of actually being successful. So if you want to reach your potential and you're afraid to fail, actually you might not achieve the greatness that you're actually seeking. Everyone that I know who is successful at high levels have also been through a lot of failure. But they don't let the failure define them nor keep them there. We learn from them. Like you said, your mother might have had you at a young age, but it didn't stop you.
Oh, absolutely.
You use that actual thing to be a positive.
Exactly.
Right? And so I think that's how we should respond when we have life issues, is that use it, even the negativity, and try to turn it into a positive.
That's right. Remember, success is not a sprint. It's a marathon. You're going to be falling, but you must get up. You get up, brush yourself off, and keep going. Because a lot of times, these failures, these trials are there just to make you stronger. You know, and sometime in the past, I spoke about the refiner's fire. What is that? It's just the trials and the problems you're going to be going through to make you into a better person. So you must think positively about yourself. Think that you were made special by the Creator and that you can do anything that you put yourself to if you seek help. Don't be hesitant to seek help. Now, before we go on, I just want to welcome some people that have joined us. I have Daniela Alvarez. I want to welcome you. I want to welcome Kenny from Haiti, Randy Salazar, Blanca Vargas. I want to welcome Jane Santos, Ronita Chance, Nelson Dockery, Andrew Yu, Nicholas, all of you. I might not say all the names, but I want to welcome you to our program. We're discussing healthy mind and how to unleash your potential once you have developed that healthy mind. Please like and share our page, and you can also make comments. We are here to answer any questions you may have. So therefore, remember, for you to be healthy, you have to think it. You first have to want it. You have to be hungry for it. And you have to work for it. You have to take action in order to achieve your goal. Remember, Les Brown said that each one of us, we have greatness within us. You have greatness. You need to find that greatness, and you have the obligation, the responsibility to bring out this greatness so that people around you can benefit from this greatness.
Yes, especially our faith community. If you believe in God, He does not create junk. So right. if you worship Him and you know that you are created in His image, then you have value, right? And once you know you have value, you also have purpose. Your life is not meaningless. So I know that it is a struggle. Sometimes we go through a lot of different things, but that's where you want to lean on His mighty arm. You want to reach out to friends and family, your faith-based community, or wherever, because help is there. It is never final. You are the one who can make the change. Do not go under the rock and crawl up. You don't have to go crawl up under there and hide. There's no need for that. There might be a time for that, for when you just got hit with a problem or a bad diagnosis or something like that, but help is there. Actually, even this help, John Garcia, right? He's another guy that hangs out with Les Brown. Just, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, he posted on Facebook, he was dealing, for the 7th time, he has overcome cancer.
Wow.
Number 7. And even while he was going through treatment, he espouses everything that you were talking about here. He was positive. He's there even going through his treatment, and he's posting things with laughter and a good attitude.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, so that, because I know that even cancer is a very difficult thing to go through. Our community is plagued by it all the time. And so we are compassionate to our friends. But one thing we try to do is always encourage them, even with that. Don't give up. Don't give in. You know, tie a knot at the end of your rope and just hang on if that's what you got to do, because help is on its way.
Right. There's always hope.
Yeah.
There is always hope. You need to find it. You need to go and find that, and remember that you need a balance. If you're broken, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, find someone. Find someone to talk to so that you can be guided towards help. And remember, we're human. We are going to have our periods of down. We're going to have a period of depression or anxiety or stress. But the most important thing is to tell yourself to be very positive. I'll give you another story. There was this patient who was misdiagnosed for having cancer of the liver. He didn't have cancer of the liver. It was misdiagnosed. However, after he was told that he had cancer of the liver, he started to express all the signs and symptoms of liver cancer. The mind is powerful. Then he went to the hospital because he was so weak and wasn't eating. They redid his x-ray, his CT scan, and realized that he had a healthy liver, that he was normal. He was now told that the diagnosis was an error and that he was healthy. And almost immediately, he was cured. This goes to show that the mind is powerful. We need to make sure that we remove all the negative thoughts from our mind. And sometimes it might be difficult, but we need to seek help. Once we reshape this mind and start thinking positively, then you're going to see that you might become unstoppable. You know, there's several students, there are some students who think they can't pass this exam because of something in the past. They were told that they were not good enough, or they're going to be a failure, whatever it is. And then they just can't succeed. But someone might just come and say, hey, this is not true. You have the ability. And then they are just unleashed. So remember that you need to develop a healthy mind. And you might not be able to do it on your own. When you have reshaped the brain, start thinking differently, and you want to succeed, then it will happen. You give us a story recently about someone who was submerged under the water, and he was told that if you want success as you want to breathe, talk a little bit. This is very empowering.
I think many have seen that video by Dr. Eric Thomas. It's so powerful because you're right. He talked about this young man who wanted to be successful, and he went to talk to this guru, and the guru said, meet me at the beach. And when he went to the beach, he held him under the water. And as he came back up gasping for breath, he put him back down again. And so he asked him, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful. The reality is, it is not difficult to be successful in any area of your life. And sometimes actually we need to define what success looks like for ourselves, because that is part of the stress sometimes, where I am trying to measure up to my colleagues, they're better preachers, or they're better this and that. And so you're trying to be like them and not defining your own. And so you are grasping after the wind because that's not your thing. You work in your giftedness, you work in your skill set, and be the best that you can be for yourself. Define your own success, because success looks different for all of us. And at a basic level is simply achieving what you set out to do. That's really what it is. So whatever you set out to do and achieve, if you get it, hey, you're successful. Like, you don't have to let society, culture define success for you. You define it for yourself. And I think that will also, kind of taper down on the kind of stress or necessary stress that we may have.
Right. So remember, we're talking about developing a healthy mind in order to unleash your potential. And we looked at the various factors, the various dimension on a person. We looked at the social, which is important, emotional, physical, and spiritual. All of these dimensions must be in balance for you to develop a healthy mind and therefore good physical health. You know, there's several times patients will come into the office and they'll be prescribed certain drugs and they'll say, Dr. Cooper, can you tell me what are the side effects? And I'll say, I'm not going to give you the side effects, because if I give you the side effects, you're going to be expressing all of these side effects I give you. The mind is powerful. If you think it, you're probably going to express it. So why don't you think to be positive? Think that you are on this journey, this is your goal, and you're going to move towards this goal until you reach it. And your goal must be unique. You should not have the goal of your brother or somebody else, your neighbor, as Dr. Chance just said. You need to find why you're here, what are your potentials, and move towards your potential. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't achieve it. You need to know that you can achieve what you set out to achieve, but sometimes you might have difficulty. And sometimes you're going to need to ask for help. If you're a student, you might need to be tutored. Okay? But remember to always be positive. You need to lead with your head first. Make the change in your head, and then you will indeed have success overall. Anything else you want to say?
Well, I just want to encourage my professional colleagues out there, everyone. But again, we are trying to also break some of the stigmas that this does not affect people who are well-educated, people who are in professional roles. Listen, you also have an obligation to those that you lead.
Yes.
If you are not well and you're trying to fake it till you make it, sometimes we need to do that. But the reality is, you know, as this article was saying, many, for example, physicians might kill themselves. What are the effects on their family and even their patients? Because sometimes those who are following you, they're looking up to you for also hope and inspiration. So if you are not taking care of yourself, then you can also cause them indirectly to lose faith and lose hope in their own journey, because they're looking to you as a source of that inspiration. But know this, that if you are not well or you're going through depression, discouragement of any sort, you are not different from anyone. Like, you also take the same steps, because we like to give others the prescription, but sometimes we need to take the prescription ourselves. Find help, find hope, find healing, and remember, a big part of it, as we've covered today, is all here. As a man or woman thinks in their heart, so are they. So think well, and you can begin to be well.
And parents, remember to be to motivate your children positively. Don't repeat negative connotation to the children. They can't do this, or they're not good enough. But positive reinforcement is very important. Let them know they can be this. They can get an A in this math or this chemistry. Be positive so you can encourage your kids to move on. I'm going to take the time to welcome a couple people who have just joined. I have Noemi, Rosario, Pauline Hogg, McKee from England, my cousin, Percy from the Philippines, Lilith from Jamaica. Hi, Lilith. Welcome. Give my love to everybody there. I want to welcome all of you. I probably will not be able to read all the names, but I want to welcome you, and I ask you to follow us every Sunday at 6 o'clock Central. And Dr. Chance has a show, the Monetize You show,
Yes,
right? Why don't you say something about your show? Because that also is very important for good financial health.
Yes, and actually soon I'm going to be doing an episode of that, because finances does create depression as well, and family-related challenges and issues as well. So you can check us out at themonetizeyouShow.com or strategicsecrets.com, strategicsecrets.com. So blessings on you. But here's the thing today, don't leave, encourage yourself, be positive, be optimistic, life is always good. If you have life today, you can become better. And so know that your success is dependent upon you. God can bless you. God can help you. He give you all the strength that you need. But think positively. Meditate upon these things. Search His Word and find all of the inspiration, encouragement, and support that you need for every single area of your life. There is a solution. Blessings on you.
And Clinton Porter from New York said, remember to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Good work.
Thank you,
Yes.
Clinton. Clinton is my childhood friend. I want to thank you for that. And remember, the Bible says that whatever thing is true, whatever thing is honorable, of good report, you must think on this thing. You must think positively. And remember not to be anxious for anything. Just give everything over to the Lord in prayer, and you'll realize that your burdens will be a little lighter.
Yes.
So as we move on, I want to thank you, every one of you, for joining us today. I want you to share, like the page. You can do a replay if you joined late. I think this is a very important topic for every one of us, because we all are broken sometimes and we all need to be encouraged. We all need to know that we have greatness within us and we need to think it, reshape our brain, and we will be healthy. Remember that we have multi-dimension, physical. You need to exercise. Exercise will increase serotonin level. Serotonin will give you the happiness you're seeking. You need to eat healthily. Lots of green leafy vegetables, lots of fruits and nuts and seeds. This will give you better brain health. You need to rest. Rest at least 7 to 8 hours per night. And this will decrease your stress, decrease your blood pressure, and you'll have clarity in mind and better memory. And remember, you must connect. Connect spiritually, because studies have shown that people who connect spiritually through meditation, through a faith community, will reshape their brain. They have more prominent frontal lobe, and they also have decreased anxiety and stress. Dr. Chance, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I hope to see you again on the show another time.
Always a privilege and a blessing. Thank you.
And thank you, guys. We will see you soon. So long. Bye-bye.